welcome! In this video, we're going to give you some tips and tricks for finding the right niche influencer for your brand. To do this, we're going to use Influencity's Discover tool to do 3 sample searches for yoga influencers, family influencers, and skincare influencers. And hopefully this gives you some ideas to get inspired when you do your next influencer search. Let's get started by going here to search influencers. On the main Discover page, you have some preset searches that are meant to give you an idea of what's out there, but we're going to do a search from scratch and click on Search Influencers. Now for our first case study, we're going to be an e-commerce based in Australia. And let's say that they sell yoga equipment and yoga clothing. So they really want an influencer who can bring their products to life. You can choose among Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. But let's say Instagram's a good platform for this because it promotes a lot of engagement and it's very visual. As for followers, niche influencers are typically nano or micro influencers, meaning they can have anywhere between 1,000 to 100,000 followers. Follower growth is a filter if you're looking for a really rapidly growing profile. And average interactions refers to the number of likes and comments on any given post. However, I prefer using engagement as it takes these likes and comments and divides it by the total number of followers to give you an engagement percentage. And for Instagram, 2% is typically a solid engagement metric. Now, as this company is based in Australia, we're looking for an Australian influencer who knows the market. In addition, we can also narrow down influencers based on the audiences that they target. So we can look for an influencer with, let's say, a 20% of their audience in Australia. Now, for these filters, less is more. So it's a good idea to start off with less filters and lower percentages, and then you can adjust a little bit more as you go. Now for gender, a quick tip is to use the male or female filter. This is a good way to eliminate any brands from your search results. Also, if you're searching for an influencer where the gender doesn't really matter, maybe like a pet influencer or a foodie profile, you can select gender neutral. Now for interest, it gives you a number of preset interests to choose from. You can choose multiple, although keep in mind that if you choose 2 or 3 different interests, all of your results will correspond with at least one, but not necessarily both or all 3. But since our search is a bit more niche, we're going to go down and we're going to use the bio filter. And right here, we're going to write yoga. Now, this has given us 917 influencers. I'm just going to set one more filter, which is going to be has email. This means that the profiles in our results all have a public email address that I can use and I can contact them using the IRM tool. This is much easier than messaging the influencer through the Instagram platform, as it's more direct and a bit more professional. Now we have 420 influencers. Let's take a look. Okay, so on our search results page, the filters are displayed along the top and the influencers are in this table. Now, your results will give you 3 complementary metrics. These are followers, average interactions, and engagement. In addition, we have some extra columns that correspond with the filters that we put for this search, such as location and audience country. So when you do your search, you might have different columns just depending on the filters that you put. Now, the first thing I like to do is click on the profile's handle, which will open that profile in a separate window. This way, I can look at their Instagram profile and see their aesthetics, see their values, and really get a feel for the kind of influencers that I'm getting in this search. This is important because it's telling me if I'm putting the right filters and if the filters are giving me the results that I need. Now, if I want to adjust my filters, I can come up here to open filters and adjust them as necessary. I can also export the search to share it with clients and colleagues, or I can save it for later. Now let's say I really like this influencer aesthetic, but now I want to see their full KPIs to see if they really have the performance to back up the aesthetic. So I'm going to save them to the Influencer Relationship Management tool, and it's going to give me a pop-up window where it offers to analyze this profile. Analyzing a profile means that you're able to see their main KPIs as well as any audience details to see the audience that you would impact if you were to work with this influencer. And this has the cost of 1 monthly analysis. I'm going to hit save. And in a minute, this profile will appear with a pink dot next to it. Now I can view it by going to influencers and selecting profiles, or I can get a preview from this very page by clicking preview. Now up at the top, you have the global KPIs such as earned media value and interactions. And right below that, we have a really interesting metric, which is follower quality. This is divided into nice followers, which are actual people who could eventually become your customers, and doubtful followers, which are bots or inactive accounts. Now these days, bots are quite prevalent, so it's inevitable that influencers will have some doubtful followers, but it's best to pick influencers with a follower quality of 80% or better. Now, the engagement rate is helpful because it puts this influencer's engagement in context in comparison to other profiles of a similar community size. So as you can see here, they are quite engaged with their audience. And this gives an idea of the profile's evolution over time. So as you can see, they've had quite a lot of likes in the past couple of months. Down here, we have the accounts that this profile has mentioned and the hashtags that they've used. And influencer brand affinity refers to the brands that appear in their content. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a paid collaboration. It could just be that they like Nike and this logo appears in some of their images. Now down here, you get insight into the audience that you would reach if you decide to work with this influencer. So here you can see their ages, the gender, and where in the world they're coming from. As you can see, about 34% are coming from Australia, so that's pretty good. You can also see their languages, their ethnicity, and audience reach. This is important because you want to make sure that at least 50% of your audience is within these two bars. That means that they are following around 1,000 accounts or less. This is important because it increases the odds that your sponsored content will get to them, right? If you have a follower who is following 2,000 other accounts, then it's possible that your sponsored content gets lost in a sea of competing content. Down here we have the brands that your audience interacts with, as well as profiles that have similar audiences to this influencer. And then finally, in notable followers, these are the followers that could be considered influencers in their own right because they have at least 1,000 followers. This is important because if you sponsor a post with this influencer and then these notable followers interact with it, it kind of has an echo effect and your sponsored content could arrive even further. Okay, for our next search, let's say that we've identified that our target customer would be families with young children. However, we're not quite sure if the best way to target them is with a mom influencer or dad influencer. Let's take a look at some of the filters that we would use to run this search. So again, go to search influencers and let's stick with Instagram for this search. As for followers, since we're going to be running this search in the United States, I'm going to increase the minimum amount a little bit just because the US is a more established market. Now, again, I'm going to leave 2% as the engagement. And for location, when you're running searches on Instagram, you can filter by country, city, or US state. So for example, if I knew I wanted influencers based in California, USA, I could set that filter. In this case, I'm going to just stick with the United States to keep my search a little bit broad. And the same thing, as I'm mainly targeting customers in the United States, I will put my audience as United States. And then I will set a percentage of about 20. Okay. And for gender, again, I'm going to put male or female, as this is a good way to eliminate brands from your search results. And then down here, brand affinity is an interesting filter because it gives you insight into the brands that appear in an influencer's content. For example, if an influencer wears a lot of clothes from Ralph Lauren with the visible logo, our AI would be able to pick up on that, and this brand would be included under this profile's brand affinity. However, this does not indicate a professional collaboration, simply that this influencer uses this brand and it appears regularly in their content. Partnerships, on the other hand, is a good way to find out the brands that influencers have been working with. For example, if I know that I want a profile who has done a professional collaboration with The Gap, I can write this in here and it will show me the profiles who have worked with Gap. Let's say, for example, I don't care about which brand, but I want to make sure that the profiles in my results have done a professional collaboration and have experience with that. I can just put any, and my results will show these profiles that have had either those ad posts, hashtag ad, or that notification that shows up on the top of posts that says this is a paid collaboration with this brand. Another way to use the partnerships filter is to see the influencers that have worked with your competition. Say, for example, we are a children's clothing brand and we have identified Old Navy as one of our competitors. I can type Old Navy here, and the profiles in my results will be the influencers who have worked with this brand. So then I know if I want to avoid them or just take that into consideration. A final way that you can use this filter is if you want to avoid certain types of profiles. For example, if you're a family brand, it's a good idea to avoid influencers who have done paid collaborations with tobacco or alcohol brands, right? Just because it doesn't really align with your key values. What I could do is I could run a search, for example, with a beer company. And that way I would know that the profiles that appear in the search are profiles that have done paid collaboration with this company, and I would know that maybe these are the profiles that I want to avoid. With this initial search, we're going to leave it blank, but these are options for further searches if you want to eliminate those profiles from your search. Now, lookalikes is another great filter because it's good for if there's a profile that you really like their content, however, you're not able to work with them for whatever reason. Maybe they're located in another geographic area, maybe they're a little bit out of your price range. What you can do is you can write their handle here. For example, this is a mom influencer, and we really like her content. However, unfortunately, she's based in the UK and her audience is also based in the UK. So what I can do is I can enter her handle here and I can go up here to where I put the location, and I put influencer location United States, and I also searched for a US based audience. So that way our results will have similar content, but with a US focus. Finally, let's talk about some ways to narrow down or broaden your search. So if you really want to specify your search, there are 3 great filters to use, and they are hashtags, keywords on posts, and bio. In these filters, you would just type in a certain word, and then the influencers in your results would have that word within their profile. Maybe as a hashtag, just a keyword, or in the bio, which is the free text section next to an influencer's profile picture where they can sometimes describe themselves or their content. So again, these are really good ways to really narrow down. For example, if I know I want a mom influencer, I can write mom into one of these fields. However, it's a good idea to just start with one and not use all 3 at the same time, because that could narrow down your results too much. Now, say for example, you're not sure if you want a mom influencer, maybe there's a dad influencer who could also impact your target audience. In this case, topics is a great option because it works like an idea generator. It lets you kind of explore within a topic to see what's trending. So if I were to write family right here, it will show me some of the hashtags that are currently trending about the topic family. So if I were to select, for example, family goals, the influencers in my search results will have used this hashtag regularly, as well as other family-related hashtags. And this is a good idea to kind of get into a topic without excluding profiles that could be valuable. Now, I have 460 influencers in my search. I'm going to set one more filter, which is only credible accounts. So this is going to narrow down the accounts that have a high percentage of nice followers. Remember, nice followers are the followers that are real, that are interacting, and that are likely to become, or possibly can become, our customers. All right, so now let's see what we get. Okay, so again, our filters are listed along the top, and our influencers are listed in groups of 20. So for every search that I run, 20 monthly results will be deducted from my account. For this reason, it's a good idea to click on an influencer's handle and view their profile in a separate page. That way you can really see if the filters that you're setting are really bringing you the results that you need. If not, it's a good idea to adjust your filters before exploring the next pages, because as you can see, if I go to page 2, then an additional 20 monthly results will be deducted from my profile. So it's a good idea to make sure that you really have the right filters set before exploring further, because that way you can really get the most out of the monthly results included in your subscription. Okay, so for our last and final search, we're going to try looking for beauty and skincare influencers on TikTok. Let's get started. Again, we'll go to search influencers, and this time we will choose TikTok. Now for each social media platform, you have slightly different filters, but it goes along the same line. So let's choose more or less the same number of followers and the same amount of engagement. Although TikTok, the engagement rate tends to be a little bit higher. And then for location, it doesn't really matter where the influencer is based, but we want them to have a solid audience in the United Kingdom. So let's see, United Kingdom, and again, let's select about 20% and see what it gives us. Now for gender, it doesn't really matter, but we'll put male or female again, just to avoid brands showing up in our search results. And then down here, we can put in the hashtag beauty and see what it comes up with. Now let's see, it's giving us the hashtag beauty hacks, which I know is quite a popular theme on TikTok, so let's select it and see what we get. It says that I have 86 influencers in my results. Let's take a look and see what we have. So here, again, All of my filters will be displayed along the top, and this is my list of influencers. So one by one, I can go through them, see the kind of content they have, and adjust accordingly.